NFL Week 4 brought some big wins and some big losses, and RIP to everybody who started Jalen Warren. I know that's rough, but yeah, let's get into it. Stick around, check the timestamps below if you just want to get straight into the game breakdowns, but let's do it. Shout out to 4for4 for the information here, for just keeping it all in one place for us. But taking a look at running back injuries, as we know, Tyrone Tracy and Aaron Jones are out. As of yesterday, there weren't really any notable running back injuries. Miles Sanders went out, I believe, with an ankle injury, but he was more of the secondary back for the Cowboys anyways. So that just may open up a little bit of opportunity for Jaden Blue, but we're also just waiting to hear more news on that as well. The biggest news for the week, Malik Neighbors with a knee injury appears to be out for the season. They fear it's an ACL injury, which is just not good news at all. So speedy recovery for Malik Neighbors. It's just bad news all around right there. Yesterday, Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall both exited the game with injuries. I think at one point, Ricky Pearsall couldn't get into the tent because Juwan Jennings was in the tent. So just a little bit of 49ers luck right there, to be honest with you. But I think both were able to return to the game. So just keeping an eye on those two. CeeDee Lamb's still out. Mike Evans is still out. Terry McLaurin's still out. Alec Pierce did not play with a concussion. Noah Brown, Xavier Legette. As for the tight ends, nothing really changed except Jatavion Sanders was out, so Tommy Tremble played in his place and was actually pretty decent. So keep an eye on him if you're looking for any tight end streamers. And week 5 quarterback injuries. Lamar Jackson is the biggest name right here. Suffered a hamstring injury and exited the game. We're not exactly sure how much he's going to miss. So definitely keeping an eye on that situation right there. And I had a few more names written down as well. Cedric Tillman suffered a hamstring injury and should be out for a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more and the results of that. And Calvin Austin also went out with the shoulder injury, but he's since tweeted out that he's doing okay. So I guess we'll get more news on what exactly that is. Darnell Mooney, also hamstring injury to go along with the shoulder injury he's recovering from. So not great for Darnell Mooney owners. And Joe Alt, not a fantasy football player, but somebody with big fantasy football implications, went down with a high ankle sprain, and the severity is still to be determined, but that is a huge loss for the Chargers offensive line if he is to miss time. And that's going to round out the injury portion of this section. Let's get into Sunday's games. Okay, I'm going to lie to you guys immediately. We're starting off with Thursday's game. We're going to talk about Seahawks Cardinals just real quick, just because I feel like a good amount of people will want to hear about some of the implications of this. But when it comes to just taking a look at the run game for the Seahawks, things are confusing still. Kenneth Walker, he's getting more of the opportunities, but then they're giving Zach Charbonnet goal line touches and letting him vulture things after letting Kenneth Walker do a lot of the work to get there. So it's interesting. But when you look at the pass game, there's really no questions to be involved. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the alpha for this team, and he's targeted like such. He's also targeted way downfield. He's getting extremely valuable targets with this team, and they're going to him in times where, they need a big play, which obviously they did this past week. And then taking a look at the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. bounce back game. Of course, we talked about him last week. I told you to bench him, which always means you start him with this channel, unfortunately. But Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride able to cement themselves as the 1 and 2 for this offense for sure. And Marvin Harrison able to make some huge plays. I know it was an emotional night for him, so big ups to him for sure. And then Kyler Murray also able to get it done. It's something weird about this team still, but I don't know. I think they're starting to figure it out some. But when it comes to the run game, Trey Benson obviously led the backfield, but Amari DiMercado was somebody who was more of a guy than we, figured he would be. And that's something we talked about last week. We said Amari DiMercado would kind of eat a little bit into this. He even took a touchdown away as well this game. So obviously he is going to be a part of this offense and will be a little bit more of a committee approach as opposed to a bell cow approach here. All right, now we're heading across the pond to the game that screwed over a lot of people. Jalen Warren was a late declared inactive, and that really hurt a lot of owners considering that game was at like 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast, 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. So yeah, I remembered to set a auto sub the night before. So if you guys have a league that your commissioner can set auto subs, that's the type of situation this stuff is for. So if you've ever had a time to advocate for auto subs, this is a situation to do it. Talk to your commissioner. It's actually pretty useful. I used it to sub out, I think, Isaiah Pacheco for Jalen Warren at the last second because I just did it on a whim. So talk to your commissioners. But back to the game, when we're looking at the Pittsburgh side of the ball, of course, again, we talked about DK Metcalf, and what does that mean on this channel? It means stardom because he had a career game, 5 catches, 126 yards, brought in all 5 of his targets and a touchdown. One of them was like for 80 yards off of, I think, a slant. He just took to the house. Absolutely electric from DK Metcalf. So kudos to him. The biggest story of the game is the premium handcuff, apparently, Mr. Kenneth Gainwell. He's everything the Steelers' offense is needed apparently because 19 carries, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns to go along with 6 catches for 35 yards is insane production. I think he scored like 28.4 points in half PPR. I had him on the bench, of course. I could have started him, but hey, who would have thought? And also, something interesting this team has been doing, they've been running Darnell Washington as their number 1 tight end, which confusing, but makes sense for Arthur Smith, honestly. Oh, and Caleb Johnson continues to not really be a guy, even when Jalen Warren isn't there, so not great. And then looking at the Minnesota side of the ball, Carson Wentz still getting it done, but looked a lot more, shaky out there, a lot more frazzled. We saw a lot more of those push plays that he makes where, those errors come out. So he did throw 2 interceptions this week, so he did come back to earth this week. But with that being said, the weapons were still super productive. Justin Jefferson still able to find a lot of success with 11 targets, brought in 10 of them for 126 yards. Jordan Addison's first game back from suspension brought 1 pass back, I believe 81 yards. But yeah, 4 catches for 114, no touchdown. Almost got that one, was brought down like the 3. So definitely needs to work on his wind sprints and get back in shape. But promising things for Jordan Addison for sure. Xavier Scott was probably the biggest surprise here. Xavier Scott was the passing downs back. I guess he's kinda taking on that Aaron Jones role because Jordan Mason was used in the pass game, but he was sort of phased out of it. I think they wanna look towards him as more of a between the tackles kinda guy, and especially in a game like this where they were kinda battling from behind to get back into it, they needed to get that passing game going, and Xavier Scott was the guy. He even made a huge play, huge toe tap back to the end zone. Beautiful ball, honestly. So Xavier Scott may be a guy to look to replace some of that production from Aaron Jones while he's gone, but I don't know how long we've got left for Aaron Jones to be gone at this point. I think he's 2 weeks into his IR stint. Oh, and TJ Hawkinson definitely disappointed. I think this is the 4th straight game without a first quarter target, so not great for TJ Hawkinson. We thought he was going to be more targeted in this offense with Carson Wentz at the helm, but that does not really seem to be the case. I think they were just figuring things out. And then we're back to the home team. When you got a team that's manning up Bobby Wagner on Bijan Robinson, you know that only fireworks are going to happen, and that turned into 4 catches for 106 yards. So, yeah, makes absolutely perfect sense there. He was also able to get 17 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown too. So Bijan Robinson absolutely electric on the ground. Usually when he's having a good game, the Falcons have a good game. So yeah, he absolutely balled out. Also, the buy low window on Drake London absolutely has closed at this point. 8 catches, 110 yards, a touchdown off of 10 targets. I think it's obvious to say that they've at least found that volume again. And Michael Penix didn't look super comfortable back there, but still able to get it done through the air and able to get it to his target. So really encouraging to see. Also cool to see that in a big game like this, Tyler Algier was still super involved and able to score a touchdown. So someone who's still holding standalone value, even though Bijan Robinson's able to get 181 all-purpose yards. And then Kyle Pitts sneakily becoming someone that you can actually start every week. I don't want to talk about it too much because the second I do, he's going to put up 0 points. But and then looking at the Washington side of the ball, Marcus Mariota kept things running the best he could. But when it comes to the backfield for Washington, it's just a super committee. I think Bill looked really good anytime he had the ball in his hands. I think Chris Rodriguez also looked good anytime he had the ball in his hands. Bill also got a majority of the targets out the backfield too, so things may be starting to swing his way in that favor. But in terms of this committee, everything's just kind of super spread evenly. So it's tough to know who's going to actually break out at any time because you're gambling at that point on who's going to score a touchdown because the production is that similar. But shout out Debo Samuel still being a guy producing in this offense. And shout out Luke McCaffrey for sort of emerging again, becoming the guy for a second week in a row that you should keep an eye on in this offense while Terry McLaurin is out. Looking at the Bills Saints game, kind of went pretty much how you would imagine it would. James Cook kind of proves week in and week out that he's a fringe, at least fringe top 5 running back in the NFL, and he's just getting it done on the ground, and this offensive line is incredible, so he's gonna continue to do so. Josh Allen's elite. We don't even need to talk about Josh Allen. An interesting thing I saw that was said by Josh Allen in an interview because they asked him about, his interceptions obviously has come down a lot, which is ironic because he threw in this past game. But he said something that was interesting to me in that they don't really look to have a wide receiver in alpha one anymore because it kind of takes the pressure off of him and having to force the ball to one guy. They can spread the ball out and everybody eats, which you can kind of see in the target numbers here. Everything's fairly spread. Um, but also with that being said, there are guys who are used for certain things. Dalton Kincaid keeps scoring touchdowns. I don't know how long it's gonna keep lasting, but honestly, as long as he keeps scoring, I can't tell you to just straight up bench him if you've been starting him. But when it comes to just the volume for everybody, it looks like everybody's getting ample opportunity, to be honest with you. But I do like Khalil Shakir, and I do like his usage. I think if I had anyone I want to have out of the bunch, it'd probably be him. And then New Orleans continues to just confuse me. It's a committee in the backfield for sure. Kendre Miller actually got a lot of burn to look pretty good back there. And there's been some trade rumors tying Alvin Kamara to just being traded somewhere else. No one's exactly sure where he's going to land, but possibly the Chiefs. That'd be crazy if that happened. But for now, this backfield is a committee for sure. So Alvin Kamara's volume, not quite there. Even when it comes to the passing game, he's still got volume, but when it comes to just how things are spread out, it's just weird in New Orleans. And Chris Olave threw an interception off that weird little trick play, wide receiver pass. I don't know why they're running stuff like that against the Bills, but hey. All right. We don't have to talk about this game a whole lot because there's just a whole lot of does here. Jameson Williams had led the team in targets somehow this game, but only brought in 2 of them for 40 yards. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was still incredible as per usual. He's just so steady every week. Jahmyr Gibbs is actually, I think, leading the league in yards against stacked boxes right now, and he's just getting it done on the ground. And he gets it done in a game where David Montgomery kind of struggled this week too. So really cool to see that right there. Now, looking at the Brown side of the ball, Quinshon Judkins being still super viable in games like this that are blowouts just continues to show that he is going to continue to be a value down the field. But the most, or not down the field, down the road. But the most encouraging thing that I saw here too, or at least the weirdest thing I saw here, Isaiah Bond got a good amount of burn after Cedric Tillman went down. Ended up with 6 targets, 3 for 58. Isaiah Bond, one of the more controversial players to talk about out there, but he's on a team nonetheless, and he is out here and he's getting opportunities. And this is a guy who was a former, day 2 guy at the latest. In terms of dynasty, if no one in your league owns him yet, which I think he's on like 70 something percent of leagues, he may still be out there. I would go and get him just to stash him. If this is redraft, I'm not saying go get Isaiah Bond right now. I'm just saying it's a little curious that it did pick up like that. Also, Harold Fannin is a beast, bro. He's a beast after the catch. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I didn't watch any of this game, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. So we're gonna learn about this one together if you didn't watch it too. But it looks like right here, Drake May had a good game, 14 for 17, 2 touchdowns. I did have Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. I did see that Ramondre Stevenson still led the team in carries. So Trevion Henderson's usage is still not there. He's just found the end zone, which kind of saved the day. So it's just I don't know what they're doing with this backfield. I was intensely angry when I saw Antonio Gibson also got a rush on the 1-yard line instead of Trevion Henderson, but that's also just me being a Trevion Henderson owner. But the most exciting story is that they unlocked Stephon Diggs finally. I think Demario Douglas and his days of being the slot guy and being sort of the alpha guy on this team were very short-lived, training camp only, because it did not materialize into the season. And Stephon Diggs this past week was able to make it happen and get it done. So I think going forward, he's probably a guy to look to in this offense. And Hunter Henry's still getting it done if you need a tight end streamer, if he hasn't been picked up in any leagues, which I'm sure he should be by now. And then looking at the Panthers side of the ball, it was a blowout, so not a whole lot of positive stuff to really report here. Tetairoa McMillan was able to still find a lot of volume in this offense, so that's always encouraging to see. You just want to see it go through a little bit better for him. And like I was talking about it earlier with Jatavion Sanders being hurt, Tommy Trumbull stepped in and actually had a pretty good game. 5 catches for 42 yards and a tug. So maybe a tight end streamer if you're looking for somebody out there that you need right now. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of positivity really to report back about the Panthers right now. I feel like this is definitely a turning point for the team right now. Now we're taking a look at the Chargers-Giants game, which is a pretty exciting game. We got to see Jackson Dart in his first start, which he looked pretty good, looked pretty decent. Some things that I wanted to talk about on the Giants side of the ball regarding Jackson Dart and how it affects everybody else. Jackson Dart runs the ball a lot. 10 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Cam Scatabo still had 25 carries and 79 yards, and obviously his efficiency came down, but the volume was there, and that's all you really want to see. But in terms of like the checkdowns and everything like that, just not really there like they were with Russ. Obviously, last week Cam Scatabo had 8 targets, led the team in targets. This week came down to earth with 2. Caught both of them for 11 yards, so there is still involvement. He is still making the most of them. It's just that, like we had talked about, it's gonna be a different type of volume for Cam Scatabo. But super encouraging for, Jackson Dart, and again, Malik Neighbors went down with a knee injury this game, so gonna look for other guys to step up in this offense. Guys who did step up in that absence, Theo Johnson, stepped up pretty big in terms of being targeted, and Wan'Dale Robinson will continue to be a target for this team as well. Darius Slayton may also take a step up as well, but I consider that to be more marginal than the other 2. So I would really look into those 2, especially Theo Johnson on the tight end side of things. And then looking at the Chargers, Quentin Johnston is going to be a league winner at this point because he is elite now, apparently. 13 targets, 8 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. He's just going to end up winning people leagues because everyone thought he was dust, and me included. Keenan Allen still getting targeted, but not, great, not phenomenal. The most encouraging thing to see here is Amarian Hampton getting 5 targets and catching all 5 of them to go along with 12 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown. That's just elite usage. So incredible to see going down the line. Someone else who may end up being a league winner down the line as well. And then I guess the one that we're going to hit the panic button on just a little bit. I got my hand on it. I'm pressing it a little bit, but it's not all the way depressed. It's Ladd McConkey. 7 targets, only turned out into 1 catch for 11 yards. That's 4 straight weeks of struggling. Me personally, we can call it a slump, but it's starting to look more like a pattern. And now we're taking a look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which Tampa Bay was missing Mike Evans this week, but did not matter because everybody else stepped up pretty big time, but they weren't able to pull out the win. Emeka Egbuka is inevitable. 4 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. One of those was a 77-yard touchdown, so that really did save the day for him. But 10 targets, the volume is there, and 10 targets also for Chris Godwin Jr. in his first game back. So we're going to see what kind of usage he gets going forward and how he can kind of ramp up as things go along, but the volume is there for both of them. And then let's talk about Bucky Irving. His involvement in the pass game is incredible. 5 targets, 5 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. Obviously able to make it happen on that big play, but also still getting it done on the ground as well. 63 yards off 15 carries. He's just the all-around, all-purpose guy for this offense, and I just love to see that for him. And then looking at the Philadelphia side of the ball, Jalen Hurts continues to get it done without having to do much. But Dallas Goedert appearing to be a guy that this offense does want to use in the passing game a little bit. AJ Brown not happy with his usage at all, and don't let the 9 targets fool you. People think that, oh, he got 9 targets, he should be happy. When you take a look at the routes and stuff that he was running, they are not running a full route tree with AJ Brown at all, and it's just not really within his skill set. It's just not something you would really want to do if you were an AJ Brown, to be honest with you. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm sure he'll get himself some more targets down the road. But in terms of guys that you want in this offense, it really just continues to be Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And then Dallas Goedert is emerging to become a guy you can start each week. But who knows? That could change next week. And taking a look at this next one, the Texans definitely found their swing again. CJ Stroud able to make things happen once again, able to make some plays happen with his eyes and with his own brain when things broke down, which, they kind of talked about later in some press interviews. If you want to check those out, it's all over social media. But CJ Stroud just proving that he does know how to play the position still. Somebody who was a big, big, big contributor this week, Woody Marks, 17 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown, but also 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. So super involved with everything in the offense. Nick Chubb starting to be dust. And speaking of that play where CJ Stroud kind of had to use his brain a little bit more, it resulted in a touchdown for Jaden Higgins. So the team does remember that he's there. They do want to still use him. So that is encouraging. And then taking a look at Tennessee, Cam Ward said it himself. They're just their ass. They're not playing well. Tony Pollard is not great. He's just been really uninspiring. In terms of the receiving room, it looks like Alec Ayamanor is going to be the guy for this offense, but he's not like anything electric. He's not getting anything, crazy done. He's just got the volume and what is just a really bad offense. So, not a super inspiring start there either. This was one of the more fun games. Indianapolis finally lost the game, but not due to poor play at all. Daniel Jones, he came back down to earth a little bit, but I think all in all still played decently well. Jonathan Taylor still played well. Michael Pittman has kind of emerged as the alpha this week now, finally with 10 targets, I feel like, but who knows? Maybe that'll change next week. Tyler Warren also able to still, bounce back and have a bigger week than last week. So encouraging to see. And like the biggest bonehead of the day has to go to Adonai Mitchell because this day would have been so much bigger for him had he just scored that touchdown. But that's going to be a lesson learned for him. So he's gonna have to live with that one. And then looking at the Los Angeles side of the ball, bro, Puka Nakua is wide receiver one. I don't care what nobody says, bro. He might be the best receiver in the league just based off of value and just based off of volume. 15 targets every week is insane. Catching 13 of them and turning that into 170 yards in the touchdown is even crazier. But he just continues to do this every week. So at a certain point, we kind of just got to believe him. And Devontae Adams still finding his in this offense too with the target vacuum that is Puka Nakua at this point. And Kyron Williams' usage continues to kind of dwindle down. They got the same exact usage in the pass game, and they're only 4 carries apart right now in the rush game. So, not super encouraging usage from Kyron Williams. Something to keep an eye on if you are a Kyron Williams owner, or if you have Blake Corum, because he may be someone that has his own standalone value pretty soon. Now, I told you guys the cardinal rule of this channel: if we tell you to sell somebody, that is the week that they pop off, which, hey, may make him even more of a sell high candidate. Who knows? But Travis Etienne, we're sorry. 19 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Um, just still getting it done out there, man, off of not limited volume because he is still splitting volume with everyone, but he is still at the forefront of the rush and of the receiving game out of this backfield, at least for now. And then a nice little bounce back for Brian Thomas Jr. 7 targets turned out into 5 receptions for 49 yards. So not a great game, but at least encouraging to see him still get heavily involved like that. And also another quiet 6-catch game for Brenton Strange. If he's not owned in your leagues and you need a tight end, he's just proven to be somebody that they go to in this offense often. Just need the touchdowns to fall his way. And looking at San Francisco, Brock Purdy came back this week after being out for 2 weeks with a toe injury. So came back, played well. Christian McCaffrey, 11 targets out of the backfield is absolutely insane. It's the volume is insane for Christian McCaffrey. The thing that just isn't there, like I talked about before, is just the efficiency. And it's a weird thing that I keep seeing people say, like, oh man, Christian McCaffrey, really just if the efficiency just comes back. What if it doesn't? It's fine. His efficiency doesn't need to come back. The volume is there. They still go to him. It does not matter. It's just such a weird thing I feel like people are hung up on. And then on the receiving side of things, obviously the game was weird because Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall both ended up going out. But also, I guess, notable to say that neither of them really taking on an alpha role in this offense when they're both out on the field. Including in a game where, the team is trying to fight from behind to get back into it. So just kind of interesting to see. On the Ravens side of the ball, Justice Hill able to get things done in huge bursts, and Derrick Henry not really able to get a whole lot done behind the line. He was still efficient, but just not able to get a whole lot going. And then Lamar Jackson going down with a hamstring injury that we're going to have to keep an eye on. I don't know if he's ever gotten a hamstring injury before, so this is new for everybody right here as to how he's going to bounce back, but we'll see going forward. Zay Flowers, 7 receptions for 74 yards, may be a decent, sell candidate at this point too. Because I don't know what this offense is going to look like if Lamar Jackson isn't at the helm for a couple of weeks. And then Mark Andrews still getting it done in spite of us. Damn, it's my first time really looking at it. Justice Hill popped off. Maybe somebody to keep an eye on, maybe add on waivers if you got room and you don't need him right now. Because I don't know if he's doing this on a week to week, but I don't know. That's crazy. That'll definitely at least earn him some more time. And looking at Kansas City, they just kind of look like a well-oiled machine. Patrick Mahomes getting it done back there. Xavier Worthy able to bounce back in his first game back from that shoulder injury. I think they say he was dealing with the torn labrum and the shoulder dislocation, able to come back and able to get some good volume and do well with it. Maybe a good sell high candidate because we are coming up on Rasheed Rice coming back soon. We're about 2 weeks away. And I think when he comes back, things are going to change pretty drastically. Also encouraging to see Brashard Smith getting very involved in a receiving game with 4 targets, catching 3 of them. So that may be something that ramps up for him in the future. And now we're taking a look at Bears, Raiders. This one is kind of bittersweet because Caleb Williams and the Bears, I feel like didn't have a great game, but were able to pull it off. Rome Odunze, obviously, he got it done, doing great by himself. And Cole Kmet seeing a ton of volume in Colston Loveland's absence. But that's really all to report on their side. Just really getting it done on a football aspect of things, not really on a fantasy aspect. But if we want to talk fantasy, taking a look at Las Vegas, Ashton Genty got it done this week. Absolutely got it done. I think 33 points, but 21 carries, 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions, 17 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just absolutely getting it done in all aspects of the game. So love to see that out of Ashton Genty after a few frustrating weeks for sure. But again, that's against the Bears. So let's take this week with a grain of salt. And then we're going to round things off right here with the 40-40 tie that was the Green Bay Packers Dallas Cowboys game. I fell asleep during this game. I'm an old man, so I did not finish watching it. But just taking a look at the box score here, Josh Jacobs hyper involved, still getting things done. Like I said, on both sides in terms of receiving and rushing. Romeo Dobbs also getting it done. 6 receptions, 58 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So all 3 touchdowns Jordan Love threw, all to Romeo Dobbs. So definitely somebody you want to look to pick up if he's available in your leagues. I think he is available in a good amount. Matthew Golden did have a career high this week. This week wasn't a dud, but at the same time, not the great week we thought we were going to see out of him, but still encouraging going forward for sure. And Tucker Kraft's still getting it done, but looks like he's a little bit hampered by that injury still. But we're looking for improvement, and he's going to keep improving throughout as time goes along. And now taking a look at the Dallas side of the ball, Dak Prescott played a hell of a game from what I can see and from what I've heard. I even saw some statements from Micah Parsons just saying that Dak Prescott was out there playing better than Green Bay's defense at the end of the day, and that's the only reason he held them off as much as he could. Javonte Williams still getting it done on the ground, 20 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. But the big things we want to talk about here, Mr. George Pickens turning 11 targets into 8 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely exploded this week. And the safety blanket himself, Mr. Jake Ferguson, catching 7 for 40 yards and a touchdown. The guys that you pretty much thought were going to step up in this offense absolutely did. And even Jalen Tolbert, 6 targets for 4 catches and 61 yards, still stepping up pretty well. It does make me curious with Miles Sanders going down with an ankle injury. If he does miss any time, would that mean Jaden Blue would actually be inactive for a game? Who knows? So that's going to about round up our summary for this weekend's games. We still got 2 games left today for Monday night. We got a doubleheader tonight, so still a little bit more data to process. But at the end of the day, this will get you through Monday and Sunday in terms of the major happenings. Again, big prayers from Malik Neighbors. Hope for a speedy recovery. And as always, if you like the video, leave a like down below, subscribe, and let us know what your takeaways were from this weekend. Do you feel like I was off base on anything? Do you feel like I left out anything important? Let us know in the comments down below. But with that being said, I'm Will, aka Mark, and we love you. Peace.